Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short little knife review / knife overview to show with you guys. This is the Kubey Knives RDF. At least, as far as I know, that's what it's called. This is a budget button lock knife. It's pretty cool. I'm going to go over everything here. It is available. I will link it right down below so you guys can check it out. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to Kubey for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement. This knife overall length is coming in on the shorter side, 7¼ inches overall. Blade length coming in it's about 3 inches on the dot, so be careful with that. Blade length is also cutting edge is about 3 inches on the dot. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons, just a few today, up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. It is more Rat 2 sized, but it's got a bit more presence in terms of height. How about up against the Demco 80-20.5, also somewhat comparable, a little shorter than the 80-20.5. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3, certainly comparable there. And last but not least, the Benchmade Bug Out. Definitely a little bit shorter than the Benchmade Bug Out. How is the action on this guy? Pretty good. You push the button, it drops, right? You pull the flipper tab and it flips. The flipper tab feels a little bit on the light side, right? Whether you push button it or you light switch it, you can see it's getting out there. It's just, the breakaway, there's not as much ability to build up force before it breaks. It will work. You'll get used to it. You can also use the little hole to reverse flick it. You're going to have to dig at it a little bit. It's not perfectly organic. You can also fire it out this way. I'd say everything is okay, right? I'd give all the deployment methods a B+. I'm sorry, not a B+, a B-, right? If I was grading it, letter grading it. It's all right. It works, right? You'll get used to it, especially if this is going to be a dedicated EDC. I can't fault it too much, especially considering it's a reasonably priced budget knife with Kubey quality. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. So thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here it's just a little bit thicker, not really hardly any thicker. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. You can see here this guy is actually shorter closed than the Para 3. In places, it does get nearly as tall as the Para 3, nowhere near the same size as the PM2. For the most part, you're really not going to have to worry too much about it. I had to zoom all the way up here to see what the heck the blade steel was. I was concerned it was going to be AUS 10 again, and it is. AUS 10 is not terrible. It's not AUS 8, right? There was a time where we were like, AUS 8 is, and then we were like, no AUS 8, right? And now, fast forward years later, right? Some people think that was just yesterday. No, AUS 8 has been, please God, no, poo-poo town, right, for a long time, right? AUS 10 is now kind of, all right, down in this budget territory. But there are better steels, in my opinion, right? And it's not just about how long they've been around. I think compositions like D2, even though D2 is not stainless and AUS 10 is, if you absolutely needed stainless steel and you could only choose between those two, then I guess your choice is AUS 10. But my opinion is based around, generally speaking, what you use a pocket knife for in the average setting, right? And the balance of composition. I would still choose D2 over this, but I would gladly choose 14C28N and a number of other steels that we have seen tons of times at this price point over AUS 10. So AUS 10 is just kind of acceptable. I'm not going to say it's bad at this price point. It's just I would rather have a different steel, right? So there you go. It will hold a kind of okay edge. It'll sharpen up super easy. It's plenty tough, right? And it's corrosion resistant. So there you go. We have Peel Ply Texture G10 with nested steel liners that have been milled out for weight reduction. So that's nice. What does it weigh? I'm going to guess it weighs about 3.5 ounces. Dang! He probably weighed that before the upload. No, actually I don't. I never check the weight until right in the middle of because I don't want it to sway my opinion, Anyways, let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. We're trying to focus there. We're going to use a T8 for the pivot, and I think actually all the body screws are going to be T8 as well. Sorry, I was pulling weeds earlier, and I think my fingers are super dirty. Are they? It's a little bit of crud underneath. They're not too bad. Sorry about that. We have T6 pocket clip screws, and we do have a mounting position for lefties, so that's great. We have only 2 body screws on each side, max, right? Depends on how you've got them set up, where the pocket clip is. So minimal hardware with the plunge lock, plenty easy to disassemble. So that's all good to go. We're fine. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness here. Blade stock thickness is coming in, I'm gonna guess that's 115. Hey, we're close. 116. I'm sure it's about 115 thousandths in the caliper, which is weird. Okay, so we got a button lock by Kubey. It's a nice looking knife, right? Reasonably ergonomic. We have pretty traditional knife, you know, I mean, like remove the pocket clip and remove the blade and look at this handle. I mean, we've seen this handle 8 billion times, but it works, right? It's just fine. The jimping's fine. I kind of like the blade. The blade's got a cool, almost spear point kind of bayonet looking thing to it, and then they got this airplane sort of cockpit window carved out there, but it works, you know. You can get your thumb up here. You can put your thumb up here in this notch, right? Plenty good at puncturing, and honestly, the edge geometry is okay, but the final, like the factory cutting edge out of the box is plenty sharp. Kubey always does a good job sharpening their stuff. Pretty sure that the Rockwell hardness of their AUS 10 is 59 to 61, which I believe is actually what AUS 10 is optimally supposed to be hardened to. Remember that Rockwell hardness is not a universal kind of anything that's 60 or above is good or anything that's 59 or below is bad. No, it depends on the composition. I believe AUS 10 is actually supposed to be right about here, so I think that's fine. We have kind of a, it's like a light tumbling on the blade, which looks good. We have generic peel ply textured G10, which is also fine. Nice minimal traction, but enough there to sort of secure the grip. The only thing that bothers me a little bit is the pocket clip. This is, it's like they called Civivi and they're like, hey, what's that clip that just drives Metal Complex crazy? Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Can we get 10,000 of those? I'm just kidding. But seriously, what the? Why are you doing this to me? Just shave this build down. It looks like the Loch Ness Monster coming up out of the whatever that body of water is that the Loch Ness Monster comes out of. But yeah, these are grabby. Why don't I like them? Because when you walk by stuff, they grab on stuff and they bend out because they're made of steel, right? So the more shallow that bill is, the better it is. Not invincible, right? It's okay. It's just not my favorite style of clip, and it definitely creates a hot spot. Ergonomically, like I said, it's all right. You can just barely get a full 4-finger grip if you're like me. It's fine, right? Everything is just going to work, right? It's going to work just fine. But I don't want to critique it too hard because I think they have a reasonable price tag on it, right? There's really nothing else to say. Kubey, if you're not familiar with Kubey knives, they have excellent fit and finish, right? Even if you don't love the design, you don't love the materials, one thing that you can, you know, rest assured is absolute is their ability to execute with their machines. They will absolutely make sure that everything is good to go. Seating of the hardware, everything lining up correctly. It's all really nice, right? Fit and finish is good. We have a little lanyard hole back here for lanyardy people. We have a G10 backspacer, which is fine. The pocket clip, I think, has at least been mounted in an optimal position, or, you know, the way I like it. Optimal. That's really, you got to be careful with the word optimal. People get really bent out of shape about that word. But yeah, lefties, you can enjoy this, right? Right-handed people, you're going to be manipulating the button with your thumb, gripping it. There's really no way to choke up, right? Unless you're stupid, right? And you try to do this, don't do that. When you choke up, your index finger's not going to fall on the button, which means you can squeeze as much as you want, right? Squeeze away. You're not going to disengage that lock. Lefties, really the same thing. Even this meat of your hand up here is not getting close enough to the button to where you're going to squeeze it and disengage it. So I think everybody's good to go there. I think that's great. We have a stop pin located in its traditional position with a little bit of shouldering, which is nice. No blade play, up, down, left, or right. Absolutely solid, really. That's something that we should point out here. Kubey does a great job. A lot of times I still kind of expect button locks to give a little bit of wiggle. Not this guy. We're good to go. No stick, or if there is, it's very minimal, right? Low travel. I don't like long, crunchy button locks. Kaiser Cormor. Sorry, weird cough. I don't like those long travel button locks, right? Drives me nuts. Short travel to disengage, but still plenty of plunge going in behind the tang to make sure that it is securely locked out. Your pivot, no lash there whatsoever. There's no wiggle here. No blade play up, down, left, or right. Like I said, sorry, somebody's popping up on my phone wanting to call me here. No blade play up, down, left, or right. No pivot lash. Very smooth action, like I said, after the or outside of the closed position or open position. Geez, I'm getting all jumbled up here. When you disengage the button, the thing swings, is what I'm trying to say, right? And a nice click, which is the plunge lock serving as the detent. And then this guy is slightly off center, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I got this, I checked it and it was perfectly on. I can only assume it's from me flipping it. So a short turn of the pivot actually should bring it back to center. If it doesn't, you can sort of adjust the handle screws. We all know that trick. If you don't, leave a comment in the comments section and myself or somebody else will explain it to you. It's very easy, right? And then finally, no detent lash. What's the price? These come in at about 57 bucks, which is okay. That's all right. I mean, let's be real here. I don't want to come down too hard. The biggest problem here, I mean, it's kind of a B to B minus design. Flipping action is, it's okay. Access to that thumb hole is, you can get in there, right? But if it's made well, definitely, and it'll absolutely work. I mean, this will serve its purpose, right? Good balance, good size, right? Good cutting geometry or decent cutting geometry. Ambidextrous pocket clip positions, right? And it's a decent price tag, even considering OS 10 is not usually everybody's first choice. If it's your first choice, that's fine. Go ahead and love it, right? I'm not going to stand in the way of true love, right? If you want to stand up on the mountains and scream, proclaim your love for OS 10, I honestly, I don't think anybody's going to go out of their way to stop you. But I'm just saying there's other stuff that people like, right? This is it's going to go on my cheap knives I like playlist, right? But it's not enough for me to be like, wow, rant and rave and, throw it in my other, prestigious playlist, right? It's not my favorite budget knife of all time, but it'll work, right? If you like how this looks, it's a decent buy. There's really nothing wrong with it, right? I just can't, there's nothing here for me to get ultra excited about, which is also why it's such a short review, right? If you have bought this knife and you're sitting there holding it, flipping it, wondering what I thought, and you made it to the end of the review and you feel bad, don't. Because I think you made a decent choice, right? It's okay. There's just lots of stuff. This is a really competitive market now, the budget market, right? That's going to be pretty much it. Like I said, I'm going to put it in my cheap knives I like playlist because it is a cheap knife and I kind of like it. So you can find it, once again, down in the description if you want to check it out. I am sure that there are multiple variants available. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.